I don't watch talk shows. I watch a talk show called My Suicidal Ideation every day. 11:30, like clockwork. I don't self-harm. I just have watched every episode of The Middle. If you got white privilege, kill yourself. Or watch Last Man Standing, am I right? So itchy. Thank you.
Hilarification, everybody! Give it up for Hilarification one more time. Oh my God. Killing it. Next up, keep that energy up for your next comedian. Hilarious. Guys, Black Goat 666 coming to the stage right now.
Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to talk about why Jerry Seinfeld sucks.
Stop it. Get him out. That's enough. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. We won't be allowing that anymore. Anyway, the Muslims are taking...
Hey everyone, I got a camera, so you'll be seeing a lot more of my face now. Why did I do this on what I anticipate to be my worst received video to date? F*** you, that's why. If nothing else, this video can teach us if Jerry Seinfeld fans can give Jordan Peterson supporters a run for their money. Anyways, it seems like all the big YouTube channels talk about movies or video games, and I don't know anything about either of those things. I'm pretty into music, but I also have some big glaring holes in my knowledge since I spent all of high school trying to convince myself I liked Frank Zappa. So let's talk about stand-up comedy. Growing up, I was a huge fan of Jerry Seinfeld, mostly due to the fact that Seinfeld was the only grown-up show my parents would let me watch. But looking back now, especially after comparing to Curb Your Enthusiasm, it's pretty clear the best part of Seinfeld was Larry David. And while I still honestly respect Seinfeld enough not to use a "what's the deal with" joke in this video, considering that that's something he never actually says, I've honestly been pretty disappointed with basically everything that he's done since Seinfeld. Of course, no conversation about Seinfeld would be complete without his take on PC culture. So, let's do that.
I'm gonna kill him! More! Say more!
In an interview, Seinfeld said that he doesn't perform on college campuses anymore. This isn't just because it costs more to book him than it does to book Hillary Clinton. Although I have heard Seinfeld has a killer 20 minutes on deregulating the financial industry. No, no, no. Seinfeld won't come to college campuses because of political correctness. I titled this section The Millennials because I think this is a uniquely millennial issue. I imagine Jerry doesn't have quite as much trouble playing to Gen Xers, seeing as he dated one in the 90s for 4 years, but I digress. People have clearly taken these issues seriously. Check out smarmy shithead Bill Maher's take on the issue.
It's just certain words that set people off. This is what Jerry Seinfeld was complaining about last week when he said college audiences just want to use these words. That's racist, that's sexist, that's prejudice. They don't even know what they're talking about. An opinion echoed by Chris Rock, who said he stopped playing colleges because of their unwillingness to offend anybody. And Larry the Cable Guy concurs. He said, it really is a shame that nobody can handle comedy anymore. You know, when Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, and Larry the Cable Guy say you have a stick up your ass, you don't have to wait for the x-rays to come back. That's right, a black, a Jew, and a redneck walk onto a college campus, and they all can't wait to leave. One undergrad from San Diego actually wrote Jerry an open letter on the Huffington Post to help him, Jerry Seinfeld, better understand how comedy works. Now, I sure wouldn't want to be judged by what I wrote at 20, but stupid though I was in 1976, I wouldn't have presumed to lecture George Carlin on comedy.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to call bullshit on that one. I can absolutely picture teenage Bill Maher writing a letter to George Carlin because he could hear him misuse a semicolon in his modern man monologue. But I think there might be something else going on here other than Seinfeld just being too gosh darn heckin' edgy for these small little beans on college campuses. Maybe, just maybe, he's simply irrelevant. Like I've said, I loved Seinfeld, and I honestly think I'm Telling You for the Last Time is a fantastic special, but, you know, it's called that because that was supposed to be the last time he told any of those jokes he did on the show, and yet, he hasn't really lived up to his promise. His last Netflix special at the time of recording, Jerry Before Seinfeld, is pretty much half jokes from I'm Telling You for the Last Time. Or, check out his last appearance on Letterman.
Jerry Seinfeld, everyone. I enjoyed that, and I know halfway through, this is remarkable, and this is a great testament to your creative ability. Halfway through the set, I realized that was from the old show. Not just the old show, but the first time you were on the old show.
That was the very first time I was ever on Dave's show.
Doing stand-up.
That was the set
That was the material. And...
Yeah, real creative artist there. All I'm saying is that maybe the reason Seinfeld doesn't connect with young people anymore is because his jokes are older than they are. And if any of this is coming off as just like mean and bitter, it's because this is fucking sad. Like I said, Seinfeld used to be my idol. When I was a kid, I even got his book, Sign Language, which, guess what, is literally just a transcription of all of his jokes from I'm Telling You for the Last Time. But maybe I'm being unfair here. Let's take a look at some of these edgy new jokes that Seinfeld can't tell in these liberal safe spaces.
Well, I will say comedy, it's interesting. Comedy is, I do think, is, you know, supposed to push towards the lines of the medium. There are more people now who will let you know if they think you went over the line than ever before.
Don't I know it?
I mean, you have to feel the same way about comedy.
Yeah, but they keep moving the lines in for no reason.
Right.
I do this joke about the way people need to justify their cell phone. I need to have it with me because people are so important. Right. You know, I said, well, they don't seem very important the way you scroll through them like a gay French king. You know, just... Well...
That's very offensive to the gay French king.
Well, yeah, I did this line recently in front of an audience, and comedy's where you can kind of feel like an opinion. And they thought, what do you mean gay? What are you talking about gay? What are you saying gay? What do you do? What do you mean? You know? And I thought, are you kidding me? I mean, we can't even. I could imagine a time, and this is a serious thing. I can imagine a time when people say, well, that's offensive to suggest that a gay person moves their hands in a flourishing motion, and you now need to apologize. I mean, there's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
So, while I'm personally not horrified at that joke, I can absolutely understand why a lot of people would feel uncomfortable with it. And here's the thing, if your joke isn't working, then maybe it's just not that great of a joke. I mean, this is especially bullshit when you hear why Seinfeld decided never to swear in his act.
So you've said the F word once on stage?
No, when I was a kid, I used to, before I felt like I didn't want to.
Really? And did it get laughs?
Yeah, well...
But you cut it out because you were guilty. You felt guilty about it. You felt it was
I'll tell you what the bit was.
Go on.
It was a Superman bit. And it was something about how inept this newspaper would have to be, that these people, they don't even see the resemblance. These are journalists, you know? And the glasses just completely disguises this guy. And then it was something about, meantime, two of them are stuck in a fucking cave every week, you know, and that was the bit. And then I said, well, let me see if it works without the word.
Right.
And I took the word out, didn't work. And that's what bothered me.
Yeah, if you cut a joke because it didn't work without you saying the word fuck, I'm not impressed if you won't do the same for gay. If Jerry wants to go on and preach about how funny is funny and that's the only thing that matters, then maybe he could stop blaming crowds for not liking his dad jokes. What constitutes clean comedy is change. Audiences are much more okay with things like swearing or talking about sex, and a lot less okay with things like, say, casual homophobia. And as far as I'm concerned, that's kinda great. The other way Seinfeld rails against political correctness has been with his take on diversity in comedy. In most of the coverage I've seen on this, it's focused only on Jerry lashing out against political correctness. And to be sure, that isn't wrong. I mean, he says it himself.
I think that's, to me, it's anti-comedy. It's anti-comedy. It's more about, you know, PC nonsense than are you making us laugh or not?
Right, right.
But I'm less interested in that side of things and more interested in how this relates to Seinfeld's comedy as a whole. Jerry is the observational comedian. His jokes aren't meant to draw attention to himself, but rather to everyday interactions and observations that are supposedly universal. The author here is irrelevant. I don't want to generalize too much, but I don't think it's uncommon for newer or at least more relevant comedians to look at comedy instead as a way for them to express something that's personal or difficult for others to understand. The idea of a joke as something sincere or personal is inherently at odds with what Jerry thinks that comedy is. In an interview with the New York Times, he said, "Jokes aren't real. People assume that when you say something that you believe it. It's purely comedic invention. You know, I do this bit about Pop-Tarts and how much I love them. I don't love Pop-Tarts. It's just funny. It's funny to say it, so I say it." I'm so sorry you had to hear that. Nailing it. And I mean, it's not like you can't write jokes like that, and that's fine if you're talking about Pop-Tarts, but not so much so if you're talking about your personal struggles with mental illness, or racism, or jerking off. And this is why Jerry doesn't talk about politics.
When on my show, I don't do any political humor, only because I'm not good at it, and I just do stuff that I think is funny. And so you have no idea what my politics are, and I like to be pure that it's just about what I think is funny.
And yeah, thank God for that, because yeesh, Jerry's politics are not good. But this is why I'm not surprised when the guy who thinks of a joke as simply a well-tuned clock doesn't really care about diversity of perspectives in comedy. For him, it's not about the perspective, that's irrelevant. It's simply about the inner workings of the machine. Really, my problem with all of this is that I honestly think that stand-up comedy is a good and valid art form, capable of doing a lot more than only making people laugh. But if you believe, as Seinfeld does, that the only rule is funny, to me, that's like telling a photographer that the only thing they have to do is just abide by the rules of photography, like keeping everything within the rule of thirds, or making sure there's a nice S-curve, or using triangulation. All those things are tools that photographers can use to make images look nicer, but if all you do is follow those rules exactly, all you get are the types of pictures you see on a postcard. In the same way, if the only thing you follow in comedy is funny, then all you'll get is Jerry Seinfeld. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this video. I've started a Patreon, so if for some reason you want to encourage this crap, feel free to take a look in the video description or a link somewhere on the screen, and you can become one of my pay pigs. I've been getting into Juul lately, and these things are not much cheaper than tobacco, so like and subscribe because I'm addicted to pleasing you.